Hello, everybody. Welcome to Genesis Office Hours, episode number 36. I am your host, Carrie Dills. I'm super excited for the show I've got for you today and two very special guests who I will introduce in just a moment. But first, I would like to thank our sponsors for the show. We've got Desktop Server, which is pretty much the tool you need to be using if you're doing local development. Trust me, it will make your life easier and save you time. And then we've also got the Conductor plugin, which is a fantastic way to do cool layouts on your WordPress site and your Genesis sites absolutely code-free. So check that out at conductorplugin.com. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my guests today. I've got James, Dalman, and Kiko Doran. How are you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Appreciate you having us on the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Well, this week was Veterans Day, and after getting to meet you, Kiko, in San Francisco, and knowing that you're in the service, and James, hearing a little bit about your story with Happy Joe, I just thought how awesome it would be to have you guys on. So appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, it's cool. Appreciate it.
So if you're listening live, you can ask James and Kiko questions by using the hashtag GOHchat. If you're listening to this after the fact, well, too bad, because you're going to miss out on the live questions.
Yeah.
But let's let the audience get to know you guys a little bit. So, James, give me the 2-minute rundown.
Man, a 2-minute rundown. That's pretty good. Okay, so I spent some time in the military. I was never a full-time guy like Kiko, but I did guard a lot of really cool cows in Minko, Oklahoma, so I kept them safe. I should have got a Purple Heart for that because they never got mad cow disease. I did take some shrapnel to the leg. It didn't penetrate my skin, and yeah, man, I was the ultimate G.I. Joe kind of kid. I always wanted to be Rambo and the mercenary and all that kind of stuff, so I joined the military, did my time, and now I've launched Happy Joe Inc., which is going out there to help veterans in the web technology industry, and just so pumped about it. Love WordPress, love our community, love the people, love veterans, and said, hey, why don't we bring them all together and see if we can do some good for the community. That's it. 2 minutes.
And when you say you took some shrapnel to the leg, was that like a cow patty coming in?
I kind of thought it was smelling something, so maybe I stink. No, it's actually, we were throwing hand grenades, and I tell this story, I got all these really cool stories about combat-related stuff, but it wasn't actually combat. So we were throwing hand grenades one day. We were behind the wall, and a piece of shrapnel, I always say that wrong, my wife makes fun of me, but it flew up over the little barriers and it hit me in the leg, landed on the leg, and I'm like screaming. Everyone's like, what? I said, I just got hit with a piece of a hand grenade, and it just landed on my, camouflage fatigues, and I just thought I should get a Purple Heart for that. So, I've camouflaged myself with poison ivy, laid in fire ant hill, all that kind of stuff. So good stories. I'll share them sometime on the Happy Joe blog.
Quite the adventure.
Yeah,
and Kiko, give us a rundown. Who you are, what you do.
Oh man, I like to say that's what I do. That's kind of my motto, and people say, well, what is that? And I say, well, what do you need? And that's what I do. I'm a business consultant, so I tend to just work with people that have business process issues. Oftentimes I don't know it, but then I use WordPress to solve business problems. So I use WordPress to build a web app that will help refine their workflow. But before this, in my previous life, I went to music school for a couple of years out of high school, wanted to be a professional musician, and realized that I did not want to do that once I tried to actually make a living at it, and wanted to go back to college. So I joined the Air Force at 23 years old, and then I became a Chinese linguist for 5 years. And when I finished college, I became an intelligence officer and did another 6 years and got out as a captain. So they refer to me as a Mustang, right? But it was pretty cool. I got to see both sides of the military. I got to be the low man on the totem pole, and then I got to rise up a little bit through the ranks and get some really cool leadership opportunities. And I served active duty for 11 years, and I did 2 tours to the Middle East. And I've been off active duty since 2007 now, and just freelance business consulting since then, and starting to build a little bit of a team again.
Well, from me to you, happy Veterans Day, happy Veterans Week, and thank you very much for your service. It is appreciated. So you mentioned, Kiko, that you're solving problems for people using WordPress, and your consulting company, In-Group. Who's your typical client that you're working with?
All over the place. I have some clients that are doctors. I just finished a project for a booking agency that books bands, which was nice because I got to bring my music side of the things into into business consulting project, which was pretty fun. Pretty much anything. Like there's no process that can't be fixed. So pretty much any process I can go into. I like to do a lot of strategic thinking, and my screen is popping up. Squirrel is popping everywhere. Turn everything off.
Pump up the jam. Pump it up. Pump it up.
Yeah. So I work with, and like I said, I've worked with home builders. I've worked with. I created a training site for a nonprofit that was video training based, and I shot all the video. So it's not just WordPress that I do. WordPress is just a tool that I use to solve problems, but I use it on virtually 100% of projects because it's what I know, what I can go to and fix things quickly.
All right. So would you say that do you enjoy development, or are you more on just the business and the consulting side of things?
I love development, and if I could do all the development myself, I would, but it just gets hard because I'm also the lead generator, I'm also the deliverer, so I do have some developers that do work for me, and I would like to do it all myself. I just don't have enough hours in the day to get it all done, but I'm always studying. I'm kind of a lifelong learner. I go to school, learn whatever I can, but doing the development, I know how to do it, and I can do it, but there are people that are way better at it than I am because they do it all day, so I like to pass things off to them.
All right, I'm gonna circle back around to that in a little while. But James, I don't want you to feel left out of it.
Oh no, man! I love hearing people talk. I can relate to what Kiko's saying there. Having been a solopreneur for so many years, doing stuff in WordPress, freelancing, branding, it's tough, and that's things that I know you've discussed on the show with different people is, how do you get through those humps and those roller coaster rides as a solopreneur, because you got to go out there and you got to kill your animal, you got to skin it and then eat it, and prepare it, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of, I guess, gross. Thinking of Ted Nugent out there, you guys being in Texas,
so violent.
Yeah, exactly. Spirit animal, woo.
Actually, Curtis McHale likes to say that I have a cow tree in my backyard where I just go pick a cow, and that's where I get my steaks for dinner.
I thought that's how you guys do it there. I mean, golly, on the farmland and stuff. But, as freelancers, it's always challenging. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with Happy Joe is show some of these veterans how to make it through those times. Because you're out there and you're trying to work with the client, you're trying to build it, you're trying to do the work, whether you're a designer, developer, project manager, and how do you take those skills and really focus on what you're best at, which is what I did over the last several years after I was done over working with iThemesWebDesign.com. I restarted over and I said I'm going to do everything kind of like you, Carrie. You kind of had a kind of different skill set of stuff that you were offering. I'm like, I can't do this all. One, I can't code. I blow code up like crazy. I mean, anytime I touch PHP, everything goes wrong. So I said I'm going to focus on WordPress design. That's it, just the website design. And it was amazing when I took on that focus, how my business really just exploded and grew. I mean, I was just getting, contracts out of the woodwork, did work for HTC, Michael Hyatt, stuff like that. And that's when I really excelled. And so I said, I'm going to kind of lay off trying to be the all one-size-fits-all solution. And kind of like what Kiko's doing now, you try to assemble a team to do this stuff. And maybe you build it through your business, through your brand, but then you bring in a team to do that work as opposed to trying to carry it all yourself and do it all. Just
you mentioned that you do design work, and when I met you, I think it was April of this year down at WordCamp Austin, you were partnering with developers to do design work, and I can't remember exactly when. You published a blog post maybe a couple of months ago where you just kind of drew your line in the sand to transition from that into doing what you're doing with Happy Joe. How did that unfold?
Yeah, that's a good question. Over the years, I've loved doing what I've been blessed to be in the WordPress community. I got to give props to Corey Miller at iThemes, who, at the time I was had a great branding firm before I met him. Got to join an awesome team, but I started with WordPress, didn't know much about it, and so he got me involved with this stuff, and so I learned so much. I've been blessed to help clients all over the world, million-dollar brands to mom-and-pop shops. But the thing was, I'm getting tired of working by myself and being that solopreneur. I always wanted to do something that transcended James Dalman. I wanted to build something that would leave a legacy. And as I get older and sit there and lay in bed at night and think, okay, what does my life mean? I want to do something bigger and better than just have a freelance business. And so, veterans has always been on my heart. I owe my freedom, my life to veterans. There's just some cool stories back there with my mom and grandfather being in Holland in World War II. But I want to do something I knew with veterans, and I'm like, how do I best do that? Well, when we launched webdesign.com, we were helping people learn WordPress and how to build businesses. And I said, crap, why can't we do the same thing for veterans? And some veterans want to go work at a team like 10 Up, or they want to start their business. So how do we start building something where we can take them down that pathway and either help them become that entrepreneur or freelancer or contractor, or get onto a team who's looking for their skill set and just thrive in this community? And there's such a need. So I said, crap, I'm just gonna cut the umbilical cord and going out there in faith. To me, it's a God thing. It just opened up the doors and say, go full time into this. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have all the plans, but I know this is what I'm called to do. And the doors have just been opening over the last several weeks. It's been amazing. Automatic decided to support us and got involved. Matt says, we like what you're doing. They contacted us. We're talking with WP Engine about some stuff. So it's just, this cool thing is just happening. And I'm like, we're on to something here. And so how do we rally against this or for it together to do something awesome? And just decided I can't keep doing freelancing and try to build a nonprofit and help veterans. I have to do one or the other. It's kind of like us, in our freelancing world, we're trying to grab all the shiny objects. It's difficult to ever be good at one thing. So I said, let's focus, and here we are.
Cool. And Kiko, how did you come to be involved with Happy Joe?
So I met James. I organized a conference called the Prestige Conference, and we did our first one in October. And I met James via Twitter, actually. He tweeted, that he would like to speak at our event. So I contacted him, and we just got to know each other. I had been planning we donated money and sponsored Happy Joe and another organization. We were going to work with the Wounded Warrior Foundation, and then only because it was easy for me to pick, but when it really came down to it, like the small amount of money we were going to be able to donate to the Wounded Warrior Foundation, and it's like spitting in the ocean, really. So as I got to know James and he was trying to start this project, I knew that we could help him and, really have an impact with Happy Joe. So getting to know James, I just had to be involved because he's trying to help people with things that I struggled with when I got out of the military. What am I going to do? I'm still struggling with it. 8 years later, like, what am I going to be when I grow up? It's a constant evolution. So if I can help anybody else along the way, I definitely want to be part of that.
I'm pretty sure I'll be on my deathbed and still be asking myself, what do I want to be when I grow up? So
I think that's all of us.
You mentioned the Prestige Conference, and I see you guys just announced dates for 2015?
We announced our first, we're looking to do 3 events in 2015, so we announced the first one, and that's going to be in Las Vegas on February 27th and 28th. We have an amazing group of speakers. It's a lot like what the work James and I are doing with Happy Joe. It's a piece of it anyways. It's really the business side of it. And people say when you're going to make a product, scratch your own itch. So essentially, I'm bringing the people that I want to hear from in the business world to teach me, and then there's a whole room of people that also get to benefit from that. So it really is a great situation. The first one was awesome, and this one is going to be just as good, if not better.
Awesome. You scheduled, it was a little bit rude, but you scheduled Prestige Conference on the same weekend as WordCamp DFW, so I wasn't able to make it this year.
We were actually scheduled before you guys. We picked that weekend because there was only one WordCamp that weekend. It was in Tampa, and we didn't really want to go against that one. But by the time the event happened, there were like 3 WordCamps and a Pods camp. It was like so many things up against us. But hopefully February is better, and you can come to Vegas.
I look forward to it. So if anybody's listening and has questions about Prestige Conference or in general these sort of WordPress, I don't know if you call it an unconference or
it's funny that people say that. It's because if it's not involved with the foundation, somehow it's like not a real conference. Somehow I don't know. It's a weird thing. There's been so much like press around these non-foundation conferences as if they're anything different than anything else in the world.
Yeah,
I think the competition is really good. It's going to push these conferences to do different things. WordCamp, I've organized 2 WordCamps. I've been to probably 30 of them. They're great, but there's room for other ideas. So I think it's really awesome that there's other things coming out.
I think that's the thing is we have to challenge each other. to continue to build this community. I know it's kind of grown, and we have our circles and stuff, but I think there's so much more opportunity out there. And I want to plug, Prestige Conference. It was awesome. For the first one, Kiko and Josh both did an amazing job. I mean, it was world class. It was really down to earth and intimate. And that's the thing is, I love WordCamps. They have extreme value. But I think Prestige Conference is trying to take this in another direction. There's different needs for different folks, and even with the other conferences that are coming out there, those are great. I went to the first Pressnomics. That was awesome. I mean, definitely a different vibe than anywhere else I've ever been. So I think, each one's going to appeal to people differently, and I think we need to rally around each other instead of tear each other down and say, this might not work for us or this price point, but let's try to help each other out, because in the end, it truly, in some way, benefits all of us in the WordPress community. If we're really talking about open source and community and friendship, and I know we have competitors and we all have our agendas, but the market in the area is so big that I think we can really work together, in these different areas. I'm going to share with you, Carrie, real quick, if I can. I haven't really announced this to the world because we just talked about it on Veterans Day here, so you're getting the first scoop on this on your show.
Exclusive here on Office Hours.
Exclusive stuff. Sorry to some of the other people that were asking about it.
Matt Medeiros is going to be really upset with that.
You're getting it here, but I got some other scoops, so we'll spread out.
That, Matt.
Yeah. Matt, you missed out. You should have just had me on for Veterans Day. I'm sorry, brother. But we actually are going to launch in January. We're going to announce a WP boot camp for veterans, and this is going to be the week before WordCamp San Antonio. We've got some awesome stuff in the works. We got a co-working space that yesterday we met with WP Engine and they made some calls. Boom, everything's falling together. So what we want to do is we want to have veterans come in there and learn about WordPress. So for 3 or 4 days, they're actually going to go through the steps of installing a theme, setting it up, and by Friday night, they're going to have launched a website on WordPress. So when they go to the WordCamp, they understand what WordPress is about and what's going on. They know the lingo and stuff like that. And we've got a lot of veterans who are excited about that, and we don't know how big this is going to be. And this is one of those things where I'm kind of fearful to announce it because it's like, a non-WordPress type foundation event, but this is going to benefit WordPress, it's going to benefit veterans, and it's going to draw more people in that area. Because San Antonio, I don't know, from what I've heard, it doesn't have a real big presence in WordPress because there's other tech centers out there. So, hey, this is a foundation not only for veterans, but for WordPress as a community to develop out there and to grow and to get the word out and build this brand. So, we're excited to announce that, and then we're going to have boot camps throughout 2015. We're talking with people about not only just how to launch a WordPress website, but WordPress business type stuff for veterans. So we're excited. There's the scoop. You heard it live here on your show.
Awesome. I love that. So WP Bootcamp, and you cut out just a little bit. Where did you say it was going to be hosted?
It will be, I can't give you the venue right now because we haven't confirmed and talked to people, but it's going to be in San Antonio. It'll be 3 or 4 days. We'll have a 3 or 4 day track before WordCamp San Antonio. So it'll be, I believe it's January 21st through the 23rd, and then the WordCamp is on the 24th. It's a Saturday. And we're going to be partnering with Webtegrity, which is a great firm down there doing website design. They're doing some training stuff. So they've got a team. We're going to do the training, and we're going to have some. We want to hear some awesome craft beer in Texas and some pizza, and just build a community out there and have some fun and talk about WordPress and life.
Awesome, love it. Well, we've got a question here from the vendor, and I'm going to put you all on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk about Genesis. Do you use it? Crickets?
I have used it. When I first got into web development, I used Genesis a little bit when I first started using WordPress. I launched some sites on it. As I got better, I found that I wanted to build kind of my own boilerplate and framework to work off of. And I don't know, it's just like WordPress. There's so many functions in it that don't necessarily apply to me. I don't want to build my own CMS, but when it comes to using a framework on top of it, it's hard for me to pick one just because they all offer so many things that I don't need that I'd almost rather just, well, not almost rather, I'd rather just pare it down and just build my own little pieces on top of it. But I learned a lot from Genesis. I used it early on, and it taught me a lot to get me moving in the direction I'm going now.
Yeah.
Do you have your starter theme, if you will, up on GitHub? We have a starter front end theme that I built with Josh Broughton and Michelle Schulp. It's called Spring Theme, and you can find it on 3 Themes. It's the number 3 themes.net, I believe it is. But it's called Spring Theme. You can find that. It's all built with Sass, and
It's sort of built around the roots model of a little bit more object-oriented way of doing things than the typical WordPress. It kind of hijacks the template system a little bit, does it more in an object-oriented way. And I'm going to be launching something with another guy pretty soon that is sort of a framework for building applications.
Wait, are we getting another exclusive announcement on Office Hours?
Well, maybe. So it's going to be coming pretty soon. We worked on it until about 4 o'clock in the morning this morning. And it's just going to be like a starter boilerplate for building web applications. So something that I'll use day in and day out myself, but we'd like to open it up and get some feedback from people and get some contribution from other people, and also show people how to use this to solve problems and ultimately make money with it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'll give you an exclusive. I'm launching a brand new theme. It's called One Size Fits All theme, and it's going to do everything you ever dreamed about. It's going to kill Divi and all the others out there. We're going to just load it with stuff. It's going to apply to everyone. It's going to be $1,000, and it's going to rock. And we're going to have free unlimited support for every VIP.
That's way too expensive.
Yeah.
I just want to know, does it do my dishes?
It will. It will. It'll make craft beer. It'll do dishes, and it'll take out the trash. So I mean, it's just awesome. Now,
Sign me up.
So Genesis' question.
You know what? $1,000 even sounds underpriced for all that. I'd pay upwards of $1,500.
$1,500. We're going up. The quality in WordPress. Hey, Genesis is a great thing. I want to answer the question since they asked it. I do use Genesis themes. Actually, Happy Joe's on one of the Genesis child themes right now, and 99.9% of the designs I've done has been on Genesis. I work with a great developer, Bill Erickson, who we do a lot of work on projects together, and Genesis is a great platform. I'm reaching out, trying to broaden out right now. I've actually bought a new theme that I'm going to change over for Happy Joe. It's just because while I love Studio Press and it's been a great product, I want to see better designs come out. As a designer, I look at things and say, man, a lot of the stuff in a theme marketplace just looks similar. And I understand there's a reason for that. You're trying to build something that applies to a broad base of people. And so I get on Twitter every so often and say, man, someone needs to build something else. And I've had a couple of people say, if you design it, we'll build it. So we may have exclusive stuff later on in this year or next year. But to me, it's just like, I want to see these theme companies continue to improve and raise the standard, not only on the back end side of it. I don't know anything about the back end or code. I hear it's great, and Kiko probably has different. Carrie, you work with it all the time. You probably have a different opinion. But from the front end, from someone who's buying the looks of it and what I can do for my clients and use it for, I think some things need to change in that aspect. So, but it's a great, definitely a great platform.
Well, you actually did a perfect lead-in for me to a question that Jackie has, and she's asking, do you feel there are opportunities for freelancers to virtually band together to tackle larger projects? And you mentioned that you've done a lot of work with Bill. What's your experience in sort of these blended teams of freelancers, unagencies?
Agencies, yeah, I hate the word agency. I think agencies are great for certain things. 10up's doing a fantastic job. I mean, I had time to talk with Jake at Prestige Conference. Their methodology and system is just amazing for as large as they are. I was amazed, and they do great work. But agencies aren't for everyone. So to answer the question, I think there's a lot of benefit. We actually talked about this yesterday with WPNs and even with WebTegrities. I think freelancers and contractors need to band together with each other to provide their services. One person can't do it all, and there are developers who prefer to sit in the dark and code all day long. They don't want to talk with clients. They don't want to handle emails. Well, there's someone out there who wants to do that. There's someone who wants to get out there and sell. There's someone who wants to do design. And Bill and I, we formed such a great relationship over the last 3 or 4 years that we work together, that we speak the same language. I really can't code. I can tweak a little CSS, but I can talk his language and tell him what I need, and he can refer things back to me and say, hey, James, did you think about it this way? And so what it does is it improves the overall experience for our clients. And not only do they get awesome design, they get awesome development. I can follow up, ask the right questions. I can communicate in layman's terms to the client. So freelancers should find ways to work together. And maybe, the thing that people have to lay down is their agendas and whose shingle it's going to be on, because ultimately everyone's making money and the client's happy and you're doing great work. It doesn't matter whose name's really on the marquee. And if people would just do that, I think so many strides could be made. Because I talk with people all the time. I've coached freelancers for years, and they're struggling because they're trying to wear all the hats. So I'm like, why are you doing this? Why not go talk to Bill Erickson and see if he needs a designer? Or if you're a developer, why not go talk with someone who loves to go out and do sales and work together, because you guys can still make money and do well and succeed at what you're wanting to do.
I find that a lot of freelancers are afraid to admit that they could use some extra work too. Like they don't want to tell other people, especially in this community. A lot of people are unwilling to say, "Hey, I could use some work right now," and I think admitting that is a big step in starting to build teams. I think one group that's really doing it great, and I know it may change for them in the near future, is Modern Tribe. If you look at them, they really are a band of freelancers together with three owners together, and they bring together a bunch of contractors, subcontractors, but they work as a team. You wouldn't know that they're not all one team of W-2 employees, but they make awesome stuff, and they do it with a bunch of freelancers together. So I think they're a great model of what you could do bringing a bunch of freelancers together.
Kiko, are the developers you use actually employees, or are they contractors?
Oh, so I've gone full circle on this. I tried to build up an agency before, and I got up to 6 people and realized that I hired all the wrong people, and went back to just myself. And now I'm in the position where I'm really like on the cusp of starting to build a team again, because I've learned so much over the last 8 years that I feel like I can do it the way that I need to do it right now. And honestly, the Prestige Conference has really been a great motivator for me, because we get to work with these speakers and help develop the concepts. That's the difference between when I organize WordCamps. I did a call for speakers, and I just got a bunch of volunteer speakers. So then I tried to make a track out of that. And I don't know, it's sort of forcing a square through the circle hole on some level. And with this, we're able to really create like a curriculum and make sure that the talks don't overlap each other, and that there really is a consistent flow all the way through. And in doing that, you get to work with the speakers, and I get to ask them all the questions that I have too. So it's really been nice to help me put this back together. But right now I'm dealing with subcontractors, but and then my 2015 plan is to move towards a W-2 model.
Well, I think you just gave some really great advice, which is if you're needing work, ask for it. And that's where that networking component comes in. It is important to be meeting people and engaged in the larger community, so that that when you put out that, hey, I need work, there's actually people listening on the other end.
Yeah.
It takes time too, because where you leave off as a developer and where the next guy leaves off as a developer from me handing a project off to you are two very different places. So it really takes. It's just like a dating relationship, anything. You have to figure out how that teamwork is going to work and how you're able to pass the baton over. But the way I passed the baton to you and the way I passed the baton to James could be totally different. So it really takes a couple of projects to work together to really find what people's strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah. At the same time, and that's where Bill and I was at. And you want to say something, because Kiko brought us some good stuff. You guys both did. Is I think you need to lay down that pride of saying that we're always booked up, because I'm gonna be honest. There have been times where I've heard people say, yeah, we're booked up for 6 months and all this, and that's great. But there's a point, and I can say with probably almost 100% accuracy, there's a point in all of our lives that the work dries up. I mean, it drives me up the wall to hear people say we're always booked up. People are knocking down doors. That might be the case, but it's very rare. It's like winning a quarterback job in the NFL. The reality is, as a freelancer, you have ebbs and flows to your schedule. There are times of year it slows down. And so I think we need to be honest with each other and say, we could use some help, or we could use some work. I know developers who are great at what they do for the last 2 years, and they're starting to take a hit. And it could be because there's an influx of cheaper labor coming into the Genesis marketplace or into the WordPress economy or marketplace. And so, and people I thought solid who probably would have work for a year, and they're hitting me up, hey, do you have any contacts or client work? And I'm like, wow, I thought you guys are booked up. And so, even for myself, last year and the year before that was amazing, but the last 6 months, it really slowed down. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's really slowed down. And, I've been in this long enough. I've got a pretty good reputation. I've never marketed myself. And I'm thinking, I need to let other developers know what I can do. If I want to continue freelancing, then I'm available to help with those needs. And so I think, to challenge people today, if you're listening to this, if you can take one thing away, is go out there and start reaching out to people, because there's probably possibilities out there that you don't know about, but you're not going to know about it until you take those steps.
Great advice. How influential or what role does WordCamp? Kiko, you mentioned you've attended a ton, and James, I know you have too. Meeting people, like, has that played into the people that you eventually work with?
It's the only people I work with, so it's 100% influential in that. And I really believe in a thing that Jake Goldman talks about, and he wrote a little bit about it too. It's called just-in-time labor, and it's the idea that, especially now, I'm in definitely a growth spot right now. So as I bring in work, I need to have a labor force to do that work. So you're constantly networking and meeting people, and and networking, I hate the term because it sometimes can come off in a sleazy, I drive a Lamborghini sort of way, but you need to meet people, you need to understand what people are available to you, and you need to match that up, the opportunity for work and the opportunity for help at the same time. So I really like that just-in-time labor. It applies, with shipping. People always talk about that, you bring a product into the warehouse like the day before it goes out. And that's the perfect flow. You don't want to have inventory laying around. It's no different for a labor force. If I bring on some developers and they're sitting around with no projects, it's just like having stock on the shelf that's not selling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think WordCamps are very valuable in that aspect. Is get out there and network, and like you said, it could have a bad connotation to it, but I can't tell you how many relationships I've built. People who have invested, just for example, I'm thinking recently in the Happy Joe campaigns. It's all relationships I built on Twitter or through WordCamps, and it may not be WordCamp related or even WordPress related sometimes, but it's been very valuable. I've gotten some work from people. I've tried to send work to people, and while the tracks sometimes don't necessarily appeal to different audiences, and I know some people want the more advanced stuff, some people want the basics. Just for getting out there and building relationships, that's the best thing. Is let people know what you're doing. Don't go out there. I try to tell people, don't go out there and keep talking about yourself and what you do, but go find out what people are doing and get to know them and become friends with them, because you never know where that's going to lead. And Carrie, I'm sure you probably discovered that through going to WordCamps yourself and all that. Building your business has probably come through those relationships at those events that you've been at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Interrupt just a second. James, you're getting called out by Matt Medeiros to perhaps return an email.
Hey, brother, it's coming. Remember, the small people come last, Matt, so, you got to wait in line. I'm just kidding. Yes.
Is that a height joke?
No.
Medeiros-ing.
Matt would kick my butt. That dude's he's stocky. When we were at the Prestige conference, I went down to the gym to run on the treadmill. That dude's bench pressing 3,000 pounds and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to talk trash to this guy. And he's a 1,000-yard stare anyway. So, I'll kick Matt. Your email's coming today. I promise.
There you go. You heard it here. Matt actually and his team actually introduced a cool plugin over on the WordPress repo called Note, and it's like you can live edit a text widget from the front end of your site. So no more going into Appearance widgets, dragging a text widget, blah 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 blah. You can install it and actually just do it there from the front end. So if you're listening, check that out. Note is like the gateway drug to the Conductor plugin, which is another product from Matt, and they're actually sponsoring our show today. So whoop, this is a sponsor mention. Yeah. But if you want to know more about how Conductor works specifically with the Genesis framework, head over to conductorplugin.com/carryrocks, and there is a very special video from Matt to you. And at the risk of mentioning one sponsor and then another sponsor getting jealous, I'll go ahead and talk about my love for a desktop server. Kiko, we were talking about the show that you and Mark, one of the guys behind it, are buds. Do you use it in your workflow?
I have to be totally honest because I don't use desktop server, but I have purchased desktop server. My workflow is very, very particular, and I want to implement desktop server into my workflow, but I know they're kind of on the cusp of a big release, and I don't want to implement the old version. But I did recently buy it a few months ago, and Mark was mad at me because I didn't use a coupon code, but I really just believe in supporting the people that I know are doing great things, and Mark is another guy. If we talk about WordCamps, Mark is a guy I met completely through WordCamps. I've been to, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 WordCamps with him, and he is just an awesome, awesome guy. All the guys at Desktop Server are really great and huge supporters of the community. They sponsored Prestige Conference. Mark, he does the right thing. If you know Mark and you have a question on what the right thing to do is, ask him, and he'll tell you the right thing to do, and you can trust his advice 100% of the time. He's really a really an awesome guy. We have a Slack channel that we hang out in, and I just thank Mark like randomly through the day. I just say thanks, Mark, really for nothing, but really for everything at the same time. So that's kind of my inside joke with Mark. So thanks, Mark.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and they've been sponsoring a ton of WordCamps lately. Good to know they're supporting Prestige Conference too. That appreciate those people that support the community so
for sure
consistently.
Hey, I got to do a shameless plug real quick. Can I interrupt? Because you were talking about Conductor, and I got to say this because here you go, Matt. One thing is I've been trying that thing out. I want to let people know this is an awesome plugin, and I've demoed it a couple of times, and I started using it on our theme. And you know, for do-it-yourselfers and designers, I think it's a great plugin. And one of the things we're going to actually include that in some of our training that we do for veterans because I see so much value in it. And you know, people are like, do we really need something like this? Absolutely, because if it makes your life easier and you can duplicate page layouts that you need to do, but try to sit there and do all this stuff through code. You know, I can't code, and so you know, Conductors give me the ability to do some really cool stuff. So I want people to check it out. As a freelancer, I think it's going to be a valuable tool in your toolkit. So go out there and purchase it today because James said so.
Way to testify.
There you go.
And there actually is a 20% coupon for Conductor. It's Carrie Rocks 20. The number 20.
That's the only percentage you get off? I'll give him 35 off today. No, I'm just kidding.
Matt, if you're listening,
it's 100% off. It's like, oh crap.
Note is actually 100% off. It's over at wordpress.org/note, free of charge. We've got a comment from Mike. He's actually local in the DFW area and is a veteran. And he says, being a vet that interacts with a lot of other vets, he's very interested in what the process looks like to go from a completely non-WordPress person to a Happy Joe success story. What would you say?
Give till it hurts. Soldier, you got to bleed in the battle and give your blood. And I'm just kidding. Do all that who it's on. So basically, if you're interested in what we're doing, you need to go to our website and go to the program tab and apply. What we're going to do is we're going to unleash a free membership site on happyjoe.org coming up real soon. That's going to have some free resources. We're partnering with some of the best people in the industry, like WP 101 is going to provide videos. I love their video training. Sean Hesketh has done an awesome job. He loves and supports veterans. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically have a low barrier for people to get in and test it out, to see what it's about, try some things out, and then if they feel like they want to continue on, we want them to apply with Happy Joe, and then we'll walk them through the process. So normally the way it works now is if you apply, I want to figure out your background, I want to hear about your military history, and then we'll set up a 45-minute interview. I want to talk to you, see what your goals are, your ideas, and then we take the steps from there. And so we're going to continue to fine-tune our process. But what we can't do at Happy Joe is we can't do all the training. We can't, there's so many great resources out there. That's why we're partnering with people who are the best in the industry and say, based on what you're interested in, if you're interested in design, we want you to get involved with some kind of design program. If you want to learn HTML, we want to get you the best HTML course. Or if you want to become a Genesis developer, all that kind of stuff, and funnel you. We want to be that bridge that funnels you to the proper resources. And then once you start having that training, then we're going to take you and find out if you want to become that entrepreneur or freelancer and take you on a separate pathway. If you want to go work for a team, we're going to help you learn the skills you need to be on that team. And we've talked with some great WordPress businesses who want to hire veterans. We've been sitting down saying, what's your culture, what's your company like, what are you looking for in people? So that way we can match the best people up with the best circumstances so there is a success story. And we have some right now that are going on that we'll share soon on the website.
The thing that really impressed me when I first met James and talking to him is that he realizes that every person comes from a different background and every person comes with a different skill set. So there really is no one-size-fits-all model that we can just say, hey, let's just plug this guy in and he's going to come out, a WordPress professional on the other side. He realizes that every person comes with a different skill set, especially coming from the military. Some people did computer programming. You look at guys like Web Dev Studios, Brad and Brian, those guys were computer programmers in the Marines. So they come with a different skill set than a guy who was a supply officer or whatever. So but everybody's experience is helpful in this business. We're all consultants. That's what I always try to tell people. Stop calling yourself a web developer. If somebody doesn't give you a detailed plan that you just implement, you're a consultant on some level. So in consulting, whatever you did before is going to play into what you do in the future. So But James, at the beginning, I was expecting him to say like, "Oh, we're going to help 5,000 veterans," but he's realistic in realizing that helping a small number of people is what you can possibly do, and if you impact 5 people, you've made a huge difference in this world, a lot more difference than people who aren't trying to impact anybody on that level. So, whatever he helps is we're just better off for it. So I like his realistic views on things, and it really drew me to the organization.
Man, I appreciate that. And that's one thing people were asking over the last couple meetings I had, how many people are you going to impact? I said, honestly, I don't know, but if I can change one life through Happy Joe, it's all been worth doing. Because if we can take someone, like we have someone we're working with right now, and I won't name names, we'll share the story, who is a veteran who was homeless for 4 years and started getting into development and is doing well now, has established a firm foundation. And I'm like, if we could take someone like that who doesn't know what they want to do and say, let's get you somewhere, and if you can provide a living for yourself and your family, man, we've helped one person. I have an ambition goal personally, internally, that by the end of next year, we're going to have 101 people trained in WordPress who can, and we have some great goals. We want to give back to WordPress Foundation. Matt and Mola talked about the 5% project or whatever. We want to have veterans who come into our program who give back and say, we're going to unleash them in this project, and we want you to give back and help WordPress build their foundation. We want to set interns out there for businesses, say, we've got veterans who need some training, we want to hook you up with great people. So each time that process is going to be a little bit different, because one thing is everyone's like, do we have to be a developer? Absolutely not. One of the things I want to see more of is project managers, salespeople, customer and client relations, because there are a lot of developers out there right now. There's, we need more designers, I think, too. So finding what they said at WP Engine yesterday, we want to help them find their magic power, and I think that's what we want to do with Happy Joe, is find where they excel and then get them in the right situation where they can be unleashed and do what they want. And if it's 5 people over the next year, man, that's awesome. If it's 5,000, great. But my goal coming out of this was never to be like Hire Our Heroes or some of these other wonderful organizations out there that are helping thousands of people each month or a year. I think of what we're doing as like a special forces team. We're trying to build the best of the best and then set them out there to do their mission, as opposed to building up a giant army and just hoping that it works for the best.
I love all the military references sprinkled throughout there. Special forces, army of talent. Nice.
Army of one.
Changing gears a little bit, a lot of the folks that listen to Genesis Office Hours are freelancers, or as Kiko would say, a consultant, which I agree, I do like that word better, because we are helping customers find solutions. But one of the things they're always curious about are people's workflows and kind of figuring out, trying to learn from what other people are doing. So Kiko, I'll ask you first, can you describe what your local to launch workflow processes?
Sure. So right now, I do things, I have ADD, and severely, they said 87% clinical ADD. So critical in my workflow is that on my Mac, I do a lot of video editing and I do a lot of development. So I have 3 different user accounts set up, because it's just too much for me to have all this stimulation coming at me. So I switch over to my developer account, and then I have like a totally pristine development account, no email on there or anything. So that's really critical for me to be productive. And right now I use MAMP only because it's what I've used for so long. And I do plan to switch to desktop server, though. It's just, it's when do I have the time to figure it out exactly. So I really am waiting for 4.0, and then I'm going to try to implement that into my workflow. But I have a front-end boilerplate, the Spring theme, and I have a back-end boilerplate that we're using. We haven't released it yet, but it will be released very soon. And basically, the way I use WordPress, I think of the WordPress admin as a suggestion. It's an example of the way that you can create an admin, and it's really geared for the publishing community. It's geared for like a newspaper or a magazine. It's set up for that when you look at the roles. So I look at that and say, hey, that's an interesting way that I could use WordPress, but it's not the way. I don't have any clients that are publishing people. So what I do is I start with the admin zeroed out, and I say, hey, I have a responsive admin. So I just create the post types that I need for my client and make it very simple for them. and create an admin for them that is just the parts that they need. I don't, my clients aren't looking for, we do build everything translatable and all that, but it isn't really what my clients need. Like a doctor here in northern New Jersey, they don't really need to be able to translate the code into different languages. It's not the key for them, and they don't need to be able to change themes. Although it is WordPress, it's not what they need to do. So I'm solving their business problems, not necessarily doing WordPress themes for them. I'm more just creating web applications for them.
Do you use any sort of a client management or CRM tool?
I don't use a CRM. I use Basecamp for project management. We use Slack for inter-team communications. That's really, that's kind of new, but it's really been super helpful. We used to use Skype, but Slack has been a huge improvement with some of the integrations that they have, and having like GitHub so that whenever a commit is done, it just pops into the channel is really nice. So you can really have good overview of when things happen.
I'm a big fan of Slack.
Yeah, me too.
James, what's your? I know you're not necessarily doing the exact same design stuff you have been in the past, but what would you say your workflow is?
So over the years, that's a great question. I'm glad someone brought that up, because I'm a big believer, and I shout this from mountains all the time, is whether you're a freelancer, whatever you want to call yourself, consultant, specialist, whatever, you need to have a process and system down for whatever it is that you're calling yourself, whatever the shingles name is, because it makes. And one of the things I told people a long time ago is read the E-Myth Mastery by Michael Gerber. It's a great book. It helped me think about the process and systems, how it applies to McDonald's, how you can always deliver the same result no matter where you are in your location, and basically so you can bring people in and train them in your methodologies and your system, so you can walk away from doing the work and working on the business. And over the years, I've changed my systems a little bit, but in the context of what I was doing the last 2 years, everything always started with the discovery process. To me, that's the most valuable. It's not design, it's not development. I know some people might not like to hear that, but it's really understand who your client is and what they need, and helping them work through that process. And then once you figure it out, then we moved to design, and I had steps for that. And in development, I don't do that, but I understand the process for that. But to me, it's like go through design, or discovery, design, development, and even through one of those, I had a breakdown. And one of the things I want to start sharing, I had it on my website until I change it over, is all these resources I've used over the years, and just put them out there for free for people to tear through and say what works for us. Because again, what worked for me might not work for you, but you can adapt and learn from those systems. And one of the things I've had for the last 10 years, clients have told me, we love your process, we love your system, you're on top of it. Had a client a few weeks ago, they said, you know what, we've worked with bigger agencies who charge 3 times the amount you do, and you're way better at handling all the stuff than they are, and that made me happy. And I use a app called teamwork.com. I used to use Basecamp, and there's others out there for CRM, but Teamwork has a little more power than Basecamp, and I track everything. I can develop my list and populate them in there. I give access to the client so they can see what we're working through. And the thing that's valuable, Carrie, is that working with clients is if they drop the ball and are like, okay, how come we haven't received that? Well, we're waiting on you because you should be seeing this checklist, and we've sent you reminders, and it sends you automatic reminders. Oh, okay, then it takes the burden off of me and it puts it back on them. So, having a system, whatever that is for you, develop one and learn from some of these people like you and Kiko and other people and say, how does it work for you? I'll put my stuff out there for free and I'll tweet it out at some point. You guys can all share it. But to me, I want to pass it on because I'm telling you, coming up with a system will not only make your life a lot easier for you and your clients, but it'll make you more profitable.
Do you ever get pushback from clients about using the Teamwork app or kind of forcing them into a certain mode of communication?
Never. When I first started off years ago, I used Basecamp, and there's a couple of people said we didn't like it. And I said, this is the only way we communicate. So I started telling people, if you send me a direct email, it's going in the circular basket. I said, I don't track those. We need to keep track of our conversations. It keeps us accountable to each other. But maybe out of 150, 200 clients over the last couple of years, I've only had one pushback from one person. And people love it because they're like, we can see everything at a glance. They got their calendar, and it takes them a little time to get adjusted to it. But no problems. It's better for everyone.
Ooh. mention to the folks that are listening live, we've got a few more minutes left with our guest here, so if you have a question, shoot that out on Twitter with the hashtag GOHchat. So guys, what's next on the agenda? You mentioned the WP Bootcamp. Is that sort of the next big thing calendar-wise?
We are working on that. The details should be out next week or two. We're firming up, location, all that kind of stuff. We're going to plan out our year in advance. So our goal next year is to have 6 boot camps, maybe 8 in different cities. We're working with some co-working spaces, different businesses. We may be going out to San Diego, maybe Grand Rapids, Michigan, talking with some other cities about doing some stuff. And then we're going to unleash our membership site, which is going to help veterans to kind of, ease into it and figure out, do we really like this WordPress thing? We're going to have some group coaching stuff coming out called Battle Buddies, which is going to basically, we're going to pair, we have 12 veterans right now who applied for our program, and so we want to help them start working through that process. And so we'll have a group coaching deal that we're going to unleash. And we got so many cool things working. I'm behind on getting blog posts out, all that, because it's just been a whirlwind. But 2015 is going to be huge. I'm excited because Kiko's, a part of this. He's got such great expertise. He's helping out. Sarah Pressler, she's volunteering time. She's amazing. Jordan Emery, Jeremy Bowe. I mean, we just have this really cool team with, different skill sets, and are like all chipping in and saying, we're going to make this awesome. And so more announcements coming.
All right. If people wanted to be involved with Happy Joe, what's the, either as a coach or to donate or to, if they wanted to support Happy Joe, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do that is go through the website and read about what we're doing. That's happyjoe.org, and you can contact us directly through that. If you want to email me direct, it's james@happyjoe.org. I'd love to hear how you might want to be involved. If you want to donate, you can donate online there easily. It's tax deductible. One of the biggest things we need right now is funding, because we have, I tried to explain this at WP Tavern. They interviewed us yesterday, and some of the things we were doing last week is, it's awesome. We've had this really love and outpouring from the WordPress community. But right now we have 12 veterans who are ready to go, who are looking to change their lives. We have companies who are ready to hire veterans, but these veterans need to be trained up, and we really need to be able to focus on this and bring this together. So, funding is great. People say, well, I don't have a lot to give. $10, $20 makes a lot. $100. You don't understand how important this is to get this going. And then if you just want to be a part, you want a mentor, reach out to me, fill out the contact form, say, hey, I heard this broadcast. We love what you're doing. How can we help? And we'll get you followed in. The last thing we're going to do is try to pigeonhole you into something that you don't like to do. I want to find people who have a passion and interest, and then set them free in the area that they love and want to participate in.
All right. Do you need volunteers for boot camp? Ginger wants to know.
Absolutely. Yes, we will need volunteers for the WP Boot Camp in San Antonio, and all the ones going forward. We'd love people to have involved, and we will hook you up and make sure you are taken care of.
Sweet. Okay, so I always like to ask guests what tools have they found that have revolutionized their life or made things easier. Could be a plugin, could be a book, could be just something you picked up along the way. But Kiko, anything life-changing?
The latest things, I feel like I find life-changing things all the time, but the latest thing has probably been switching over to PHP Storm. I've really enjoyed that, and I went through, there's a tutorial series by a guy named Jeffrey Way. He used to be over at Tuts Plus, and he has a website now called Laracast. It's really focused on Laravel development, but he has a series, and it's free, that explains how to master PHP Storm, and going through that really changed my workflow a lot. And PHP Storm, especially now, it has and I guess it's version 8, they added a lot of WordPress integration, so as a WordPress developer, I think that's pretty life-changing. I think Slack has been a big life-changer for me. And I guess shameless plug, really, Prestige Conference has been a life-changer for me too. Sitting through those talks and watching them all again and editing videos and doing all that, I learned so much from listening to people like Matt Medeiros and Jake Goldman and Lisa Sabin-Wilson. Hearing from them, people always ask me, what do you want me to talk? What do you want me to express to people, and who is the target audience? I always tell them, it's people just like you 5 years ago, and give yourself advice 5 years ago on things that you know now. So getting that kind of candid information from people really has been kind of life-changing for me in developing my business and the direction that I want to go.
Love it. James, how about you?
Well, I sit here playing while you guys were talking. I always, I said I was going to bring a bayonet on the show. It's behind me, so I'm not going to jump up. But I always think, a good automatic knife is one of the best tools that you can use for any situation. I mean, sometimes you get trapped or in a jimmy, or you need to protect yourself, and so why not a knife? And then I'm kind of a tech guy, but I'm not really tech, so I always think a Happy Joe moleskin notebook is really the best way to go. And actually, this is my technology because there are things that we have, apps and all this stuff, we can write stuff down, but I always find myself going back to the notebook, writing down ideas and all that. I don't have one particular app that I would say has revolutionized my life over the last year. Teamwork, has been great for organization and doing project management type stuff, but, I'm always out there testing new stuff. Design-wise, I'm old school. I'm still using Photoshop, and we talked about that earlier. Everyone's like, Photoshop's dead. You need to go to rapid prototyping. Well, it's worked for me. I'm still making money doing it. So I think the thing is, again, find what works for you. Evernote's not going to work for everyone, but I know that people love it. Love it to death. I like a moleskin notebook and a .5 mechanical pencil, and it's all good to go. Sorry, I don't have anything better than that.
No, that was pretty good. I love the Happy Joe moleskin. Very nice. You could sell those, use those as a fundraiser.
Swag is coming. We've got some cool stuff, that in the next couple of weeks. T-shirts and challenge coins and dog tags and stickers and, who knows what will be next. We might have a Happy Joe bayonet just in case, Just remember, don't go through TSA with that because we don't want to be responsible for what happens to you and being probed.
Well,
I'd like to say, too, I'd like to say, I'd really like to personally ask everyone to do whatever you can and donate to Happy Joe. I'm outside of the organization. I donate my time to help James however I can, but James is at this full time, and this takes away from his ability to earn an income too, and he needs to be able to provide for his family as well as he helps other people provide for their family, and money is the greatest resource we can give right now. So, I mean, even if it's $1, if 1 million people give him $1, he has $1 million to help fund his cause. So don't think that anything is too little, and I can't foot stomp it enough that it's really important that we donate resources to him to really help him get this thing going to where he wants it to go. He has great vision. He's a great leader, but it takes resources to be able to do these things as well.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Glad to have you guys on and hear more about it. That's very cool stuff you've got happening with Happy Joe. We are at that time of the show where it's about time to say so long. But before we do, if you're out there listening either live or maybe after the fact and you find office hours to be helpful to you, the best thing you could do is go over to iTunes and leave a nice review so that other people can find office hours. I would greatly appreciate that. And a huge thank you to my sponsors who help me keep the show on the air and going with my super high technology over here. That is Conductor Plugin by Slocum Studios. Check them out at conductorplugin.com, and you can do really awesome layouts with absolutely no code. Super cool. And then also Desktop Server. And I've got a little special treat for you guys today. One of the things we talk about a lot is blueprints and how you can use a blueprint to make your initial WordPress installs even better and all set up with the things you like. If you go over to the show notes for today's episode at carriedills.com/podcast, I've got a blueprint, a Genesis blueprint you can download that has sort of my favorite plugins that I start out with on a project. Of course, the Genesis framework is not included in there. You're going to have to download that yourself, but check that out. And let's see, until next week, we'll see you then. And James, Kiko, thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll let y'all say, James, where can people find you on Twitter, online?
You can find me personally on Twitter at James Dalman. You can go to Happy Joe Inc. on Twitter. HappyJoe.org is where everything's at, and appreciate you letting us be on the show. Double thumbs up for military veterans, hoo-ah, and you guys keep rocking it out here.
Sweet. And Kiko, how about you?
Well, my lower thirds keeps disappearing. I'm not sure why, but you can find me on Twitter, Kiko Doran, Kiko Doran, Doran. And if you'd like information about the app development toolkit we're building, the name of it is WP App Kit, and you can sign up for information at WPAppKit.com. and there'll be more. There's really nothing there right now, but if you'd like information as it comes out, it'll be coming out soon, and we're really excited about that. You can also check out Prestige Conference at prestigeconf.com. We have early bird tickets on sale until next Friday, so you can get tickets for half price right now. And
yeah, do it. It's worth every penny, people. I guarantee you won't want to miss out.
Yeah, we have some great speakers lined up, so if you can make it, I'd like to see you there, Carrie. I'd like to have you involved speaking at some future event.
Would love to. Well, thank you guys again for your time and for sharing all the good stuff with the listeners today. And until next week, we'll see you later. Bye.